What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So it is Wednesday, as you all know, so the new summit in Motorfest is now live. For this week, we're going to have the Alpha City. With that is the Rocket Company Underglow. I am going to show that here in a quick second, but we're also going to have the Proto Concept Sparrow, which I would say is a pretty decent car for the most part, even though I never see anyone use it. Then we're going to have 5 legend points there and 100,000 XP. Besides that, we're then going to have the Steel Stallions, which is going to be looking like a full bike playlist. This is probably going to be one of my favorite ones so far. I love motorcycles, dirt bikes, all that stuff. So I am most likely really going to enjoy this one. And I also kind of think a lot of people might not. But either way, though, I feel like this is going to be a fun one, at least for bikes and all that, because it's different and I do like that stuff. Besides that, though, guys, we can finally get a closer look at the Fiesta here. We're also going to get the Epic Coil Effect Smoke, which I gotta admit, that one does look pretty dang dope. Now, as I did mention before, though, the Rocket Company Underglow here, if you are wondering, is not going to be a new one. In fact, I'm not exactly sure when this did end up coming out, but I do know for a fact it is not going to be new. The reason why I did want to show this is I'm sure players might be wondering if it's going to be a new vanity, an old one, and I can 100% confirm, guys, it's not going to be a new one. Heading over to Underglows here on the Koenigsegg, I'm hoping it shows up on this one. If it doesn't, there it is right there, guys, the Rocket Company Underglow, so you can check this one out here. Also, wouldn't it be kind of dope if we can change the entire white background there? Like, I know I understand this is not going to be a garage thing to, like, customize, but it would be kind of dope to change the background, am I right? That way we could probably see something like the Underglow here a tad easier, but as y'all can see there, it's going to say the Rocket Company Hauling Services there. So yeah, it's not going to be that exciting when it does come to an Underglow, and again, this one's also going to be fairly old. Besides all of that, though, let's now jump right into this summit here, guys. A few things I also want to point out. You all know how I'm never using pro settings on any of the summits. I took it a bit farther this time, and the hilarious part is I'm not going to be using a chemist set on any of the events here, and I'm also not going to be using a score breaker on the slaloms either. So a quick example of this here, I am going to show you guys in the profile on the slaloms. For these, I'm actually going to be using a random part set that you might end up noticing that's neither going to be like a chemist or something like a live reward sniffer, and they are going to be kind of random when it does come to what they are built with. So for example, here is going to be the part set I did end up running, guys. It's not a score breaker. It is going to be 70% skilled on a random part set that's a live sniffer, and yes, it's still going to work very well. So I did want to show that if you are wondering. I did end up doing this entire summit no chemist set, and I gotta admit, it was pretty entertaining. But besides that, though, the first thing here is a slalom. For this one, I did end up getting 153,000 points running a rally raid. Again, not running a regular score breaker, but pretty much having skilled on the parts, pretty much making a 70% there. 153,000 points, putting me around 4,000 points behind, running a full score breaker set in an Alpha GP vehicle. Kind of insane, right? The next one is going to be a Speedtrap. Now, I admit for this one, I did end up jumping in there, pretty much going as fast as I could, running a buck set, and I did end up getting around 254.9 miles an hour, which is pretty much going to be the max speed of an Alpha GP vehicle. I am going to show you guys in the background, though, there is going to be a jump you can hit, and if you are going to be running the right Nitro Chemist set, you can get well over 260, 270 miles an hour as well if you were going to be doing something like that, but as y'all know, I'm probably not going to be jumping and all that stuff, so I basically turned around, went toward the objective, and that was pretty much it. Besides that, we're then going to have a slalom here, which is going to be Alpha GP focused only, and that is going to be with the Proto Concept Glow Motorsport. As I did show before, I did end up doing this one with a live reward sniffer and skilled on every single part. As you guys can see, I'm legit 1,600 points behind a regular score breaker set. Isn't that kind of insane, man? Like, I do understand the score breaker is going to be great. I did get around 4,000 points less than everybody else, and it does still turn out that you can easily get around 156,000 points running skilled on every single part. So if you guys do not have a score breaker, don't worry. Use all your gold parts, put skilled on all of them, and you can still easily get very close to a maxed out score. Besides all of that, though, you most likely looked at this summit wondering if any of these are going to be on the racetrack. None of them are, so they're pretty much all going to be on the street. On top of that, all the events are also going to have the clean driving modifier active, so yeah, don't run into stuff, especially the AI. Put that on level 1. I would definitely recommend it. Level 5, trying to pass them, they hit you. It is honestly pretty annoying. So the first event here is going to be a loaned race, and you also get to drive the Proto Mark II. For this one, I got 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Again, guys, no chemist set. I'm running a loot digger, and if you are wondering, no, I'm not going to be running pure and extra pump and stuff. It is legit going to be a full loot digger set with the gold finder and stuff on it. So, yeah, there's not going to be any advantages here whatsoever when it does come to that stuff. And that was kind of something I was aiming for. Still got around 2 minutes and 9 seconds doing that, though. 35,000 points there. Got me a total of 160,000 points. A few tips I can probably give on this is to most likely come down to, for one, watch out for the AI if you guys are cutting stuff and going through. Everything you hit is going to take off points. Also, the checkpoints you go through, this can go for every single event in this entire summit. That thing's going to take away 800 to almost 2,800 points if you hit it. So I would recommend trying to dodge that thing if all possible. Besides that, though, the next one, the Pearl Harbor Circuit, is going to be Alpha GP there. For this, I once again use the Proto Alpha Mark II. I feel like this car is fairly decent. Again, guys, the biggest thing I could probably honestly say for every single event is to get past the AI when it's going to be safe, okay? I do know a lot of players might try to jump into some of these events, maybe try to pass them on like the first corner. I was also trying to do that, but I was then going, okay, well here, wait a second. There's only going to be 3 AI in most of the events here, so you can get past them fairly easy. We all do know they like to run into you. If they hit you, you can lose $1,500, $2,000 every time they do it. And yeah, it's probably going to get pretty dang annoying. For that, I would try to pass one when it was going to be safe, and then in certain events, I would try to pass them on like the next straightaway or when they'd like mess up or something. Now, besides that, though, there is a few of these events I did want to talk about. So here with the street circuit, guys, you have to use a French proto vehicle or a French vehicle in it, and you're probably going to most likely guess what everybody is running here in the lovely entire leaderboard, which I would say the AGP is going to be great. Funny part is, I love that thing. Always used to use it when I used to do Grand Race around 10 or so months ago, but I was seeing what everyone was using, and guess what I did? You probably most likely also guessed what I probably did, and that is going to be use the vehicle most players are not. That is going to be the Mark X. Still going to be a fantastic car. It might not be as good as the AGP in some places, but still going to be one of my favorites because back in the Crew 2, the Mark X was easily my go-to Alpha GP car before that pretty much got nerfed. Then the other ones were probably going to be better. Now, I do admit right now, again, the biggest issue with most of these events is easily going to be the AI. Like, I gotta admit it. Besides that, once you do get in front, the big thing is to probably not crash and stuff. And I do already know for a fact, looking at my scores in these events, well, yeah, I'm probably going to be slower because I'm not using a chemist set. So I do feel like most of the scores I did end up getting is honestly fairly impressive, considering I was using a loot digger set with no nitrous help there, so I feel like it was pretty good. The other race I did want to talk about here is going to be the state capital Showun. And for this one, though, I was noticing in a few different runs that the RNG of the AI is probably going to be the biggest issue in this one. The reason for that is there is going to be a few cuts you can do. There's also poles legitimately everywhere. So one thing I did end up doing with that, though, is I was like, well, okay, so I'm not going to be able to cut the corners because I'll run into the poles, lose like around 2,000 points every time you hit them, sometimes like 800. Either way, you're probably not going to want to run into them every time you go around a corner. And also, yes, if you are wondering, guys, they legit respawn every time you do a lap or something. So let's say you knock down a bunch of bicycles or like a bunch of things around a corner, trying to clear that area out, thinking the next lap they're not going to be there. Well, yeah, they are going to be there. So do keep that in mind when you are trying to like cut certain places. For me, I was basically avoiding every single pole and some of the things because I was like, yo, they're going to spawn back in anyway. If you hit a bunch of it, you can legit lose around 3, 4, 5,000 points so dang quick. The biggest thing in these events, though, is you're probably going to realize that there might be cuts here and there. And at least when it does come to the state capital race, one thing I did notice, though, is when you're starting off, you can probably pass one of the AI or so, and then basically take that next shortcut right after that. Sometimes one of them wreck or something. Get past that one, then basically get around the second corner and then go after the first AI. and then of course get into first place and pretty much get away from them. And then for the final event here though, one of the easiest ways I found to pass the AI is probably going to legit be before the first corner, in the first corner. That way you can basically get ahead and not even have to worry about them. The funniest part about every single event in this summit is, well, once you are in front of them, the biggest thing is basically being as fast as you can on the road and of course not hitting anything. That is probably going to be the strategy for most of the events in the entire summit. Overall though guys, I feel like players are going to like this one, but I gotta admit, I feel like the clean driving modifier on every single event in this one is also probably going to annoy a lot of people. And on top of that, you're probably not going to want to not have a great time in the summit to go after a very old vanity that's not even going to be new. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments below. Besides all of that, let's jump right into this.